How you doing, Steve? You all right, mate?
Yeah, good man. How are you?
I'm all right. How are you keeping? All right.
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. I'm an early starter, so it's like I've just had my lunch. I'm about halfway through my day now.
Okay. Your debut. You're not nervous, eh, Steve?
Little more than I thought I would be actually, because I've done a bit. I've done some like public speaking, and I've made some videos for my business. But yeah, a little bit more than I thought I would be actually.
Yeah. What business are you in, Steve? If you don't mind me asking.
I've got an AI adoption business. So my partner and I, we help businesses use AI for like more productivity.
Yeah. Do you think
Yeah,
that
so
AI will change boxing? Because there's a lot of channels that the rumors are that they're buying views and buying subscribers and stuff. Do you think that'll sort all that out?
it would change how people consume content as opposed to how they present it. Like if you look at what's happening on Google,
Mm.
you don't need to visit a website to get the answers anymore like you used to.
Yeah.
Like AI finds the answer from a multitude of places and presents it to you.
Yeah.
So I wonder if similar things will happen with video content, where if you're looking for information, AI might chop together content from different places to give you the answer you're looking for rather than present you a
Yeah.
list of videos to choose from.
Okay. All right. Sounds like Batsy Dog's on there, Steve.
Yeah, the dog's just gone in the garden. Every time it goes out, it just reminds the foxes they're not allowed in the garden.
Okay. Okay then. Well, let's talk some boxing. Whereabouts are you from, though, Steve? If you don't mind me asking.
East London, Walthamstow.
Walthamstow. Oh, where
What
Brian
about you?
Adams from.
Yeah, exactly that. Every year, every Christmas, they do a little performance in the town.
Really?
They
Oh,
sing a
that's
few
good, isn't
songs
it?
in the town.
That's
Quite good fun.
brilliant.
Where are you from?
I'm from Doncaster, me mate. Edlington,
Oh,
Doncaster,
cool. Yeah, I
mining
know
village.
Doncaster.
I don't live there now. I live in Birmingham, but I'm from Doncaster originally. Yeah, so okay. Uh, moving on then to boxing. Spencer Oliver, aka Jug Ears. He's on Talksport and he's hang on a second, let me just turn this down. No, he's on Talksport and he's saying that Dillian Whyte has been a fantastic servant to British boxing and he's been an ambassador, but we're talking about here a four-time drug abuser who's won a vacant British title. So I don't know where he's coming from with that. It looks to me like they all have to go into bat for people like White, don't they? Do you think?
Yeah, I also feel like with Spencer Oliver, sometimes he seems to try to read the room and say what he thinks the room wants to hear.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'm not sure he always necessarily believes with conviction what he's saying himself.
Mm.
So I don't know if it's just what he felt like was the right thing to say. I haven't heard it yet, so I'm not sure. I tried to get to find it, but I was trying to just find that part and I didn't find it.
Okay. You've got to watch a lot of their content. They just tend to do 48, 50-minute ones. It takes forever, doesn't it, to find it? Unless they
Yeah,
label
I don't
what.
mind it.
Mm.
I don't mind it.
My argument with all that is Spencer Oliver knows his boxing. He's a former European champion and a world ranked fighter. Obviously, he got injured in the ring many years ago. But
Yeah,
they have to go with the narrative, you see, because if they don't, they're out of a job. That's how it works. They just drop you like a stone. And it's a damned indictment of boxing media because there's too much of this going on. And I feel that I'm the only one that tells it straight. There's a few others, but nobody gets the point across like me. I know we had a bit of comedy to this and that and blah, blah, blah. And let's have it right. All fighters deserve respect getting in that ring. It's the BS
100%.
around it. But the media, in my opinion, are not helping it because there's other fighters that need pushing in this sport rather than you. Dillian Whyte pushing 38, four-time drug cheat, fat as a pig. He looked shocking against Tete, and now it's all come to end for him. He's hanging around like a bad smell for the Joshua fight. He ain't gonna get that. He's not gonna get that. So he's probably thought, I'm not gonna get anything here unless I fight a Toma. Now, I don't know how they've dressed it up because I don't know Bricktop's business, but what I do know, going back in time, is that Bricktop always gets his man. Eubank Senior said he never worked with him. Once Barry Earn threw him away like garbage, what happened? His five defeats came on Bricktop shows. Bricktop gets his man, and he will not forget that Wembley show where they had to put that money in an escrow, over 8 million quid for White. They had to do that, and they had a lot of problems doing that, let me tell you. They did that so he got paid, and he didn't help promote that show. And in my opinion, that's bang out
I
of
remember that.
order. I know they don't get on, and I know he wasn't legally obliged to do that, but this is payback. He'll get fielded against Satoma if he turns up, and there'll be another little swan song fight for him or something like that, and then he'll be gone. He'll ride up into sunset. Sunset. He's had millions out of the job. He's very limited, very sullen. He's a bully. Ask anybody in the industry who's around him. He's a bully. Let me tell you. So I hope Atoma fills him in. And
I
I'm
think he
only
will.
saying what everybody else is saying, but they're not saying on here. Do you see where I'm coming from?
Yeah, well, if you're independent and you find that staying independent gives you the ability to stay free and say what you want to say, like, because it's not just boxing, it's all media. They all follow narratives, they all follow lines, they all got their advertisers and their payers that are dictating what they say. But jumping into the Atama fight, Atama is going to box his ears off. Like, he's absolutely going to box his ears off. That's the point of it. That's absolutely the point of it. It's someone that the casuals will say, yeah, I know Dylan. Why didn't he fight Tyson Fury? And it just helps boost Atama that little bit more. That's the whole point of this fight.
Well, when he fought Fury, in my opinion, he just turned up, took his money. He wasn't interested. He looked out of shape. That's where we're at with him. He's built a name up on IFL, but what has he won? He's not won anything. He's not won a British. He's won a vacant British, but he's not done anything. He's always stumbled after British level when he's stepped up. I know he beat Parker and that, but that were a life and death. Let's have it right. And Parker ain't no great shakes. People are losing their minds over Parker. Go and look at his last 6 wins. Would Moses Atoma beat them last 6 wins he's had? Of course he would. Would Usyk beat them? Of course he would. So why are people saying Parker's this roadman all of a sudden? The big old fat men like McCauley, Zhang, Joyce has basically finished, isn't he? Wilder's finished. They're all dug up. Do you know what I mean? Who he's been fighting, Parker. And now they're talking a Chisora trilogy. He's 42 in a couple of months, Chisora. And that's what Parker does. He fights pensioners. But nobody wants to put it on these people, do they? Nobody wants to go to
No.
Booktop and say, what, you're going to put Parker in with Derek? And why is Parker fighting big old fat men? Nobody's going to say a word or they'll lose the press access. And it's so wrong. And this is the problem. They're pushing all these fighters like the killers, and they're not. There's not that many killers in that division, let me tell you. There's an asterisk next to all of them.
I was thinking that in a build up to this because this started with Wardley, and I was thinking, like, where does Wardley go? And my initial thought after the fight was Wardley isn't as good as I thought he was. I thought that didn't look good for him, that fight. I know he won it, but it's funny that he comes out of the win looking worse than the guy that he beat to some respect. But then when I started to look at the heavyweights, and I thought, well, actually, who are you holding him back for? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, there's only 2 fighters that are really sort of stand out. And we might find out that actually one of them is also in the same boat where he's being blown up out of proportion. We'll see what happens when he fights Usyk. Yeah. Is it another example of like a few wins being blown out of proportion, and then Usyk's going to do what he did before, which is like school him, really?
Do you think Usyk and Dubois is going to be an easier scoring this time than last time? Because if you take that low blow and all the controversy out of it, he didn't win any 30-second segment of any round. Because you break it down into 30-second blocks, and there's like 6 30-second blocks in a round. So you tell me which 30-second block that Dubois dominated that lad. Take that's away or what it low.
That's what I took out of it at the time. I thought, even if it, I'm confident that it was a low blow, but even if it wasn't, it wouldn't have. It's not him being robbed. That would have been Usyk getting robbed by being caught by a lucky random shot that was way out of line for the rest of the fight. Like, it was literally the only shot he landed with any impact anyway. Was that one shot in that fight? It's been Usyk's easiest fight against a British fighter. Everyone else has given him a harder time. Even Bellew gave him a harder time, although he floored him in the end. Bellew gave him a much tougher fight at the beginning. So the thing is, it's hard not to get caught up in the hype, even though right? You can see with your own eyes what is hype. You do, and I like Usyk as well. It's probably my favourite boxer. Like, the closer it gets, the more I'm like, oh fuck, I hope you don't lose. I hope you don't get fucking planted.
Do you think Dubois got any chance?
Got a puncher's chance, hasn't he?
Yeah, when they're saying that though, when they keep saying, well, he's got a puncher's chance, what it usually means is he's got no chance. You know
Yes,
what?
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
When you see Adam Smith coming out, well, last thing you lose is your power. Do you know what I mean? He's very capable. When they say when Dave Allen's going in with Ortez, they're saying, "Oh, Dave's capable." That means Dave's going to get knocked out. Do you see where I'm coming from? It's their
Yeah,
way
yeah,
of papering over the cracks, and this is what happens. You see, so somebody like me who's worked in industry and studied boxing since I was a small boy, I understand all that they have to sell the fight and they've got the jobs to do, but don't put bullshit on social media and these commentators. It's shocking. I mean, I mentioned it in a video yesterday. Do you know when an away fighter throws punches and lands? Darren Barker and Mr. Bean, they don't say anything on DAZN. But when
it's
the home
almost like they
fighter,
stop watching.
pardon?
It's almost like they stop watching. Like they just watch from one perspective. They watch what the guy they want to watch is doing and don't pay attention to what the other guy's doing. And I tell you, who's
Yeah,
good at not doing that is Sonny Edwards.
yeah, he's
Sonny
all
Edwards
right,
is
Sonny.
he's quite good at pointing out that the other guy's getting some good shots and like saying, well, look, this is a danger here because he's closing him down in this space or whatever it might be.
Duke McKenzie and Sonny Edwards are at the top of the game when they've got that mic, and there isn't
Yeah,
many
yeah.
like that. There isn't many like that. I want to see more of that from Johnny Horsecock and that lot at Sky, but you're not going to get that. But okay. Speaking of Sky, what do you think to British Boxing Board of Control uh, pulling Ben Shalom's opponent off for Adam Azim the other night at very, very short notice, with just hours to go, because they heard the rumour from Mexican board that he'd been in a sauna and that, but and the same safety's paramount, but we didn't have that for Eubank Ben fight, did we?
No, I think for Eubank fight, there's two things at play, right? One is kidology. Eubank's a master of like manipulation and kidology. So I wonder if the British Board of Control are like, well, did he do that, or was that done 6 months ago? When did he do that?
Yeah.
What is the reality behind what's happening right there? And secondly, they can pull this guy out of this fight, and there's just me and you talking about it. There's a few people that care. If they'd have pulled Eubank out of that fight, it's national news. There's a lot of attention and spotlight on them, and they just probably bottled it.
Mm.
I think the attention, and the fact that you just don't know with Chris Eubank, you just can't say for sure. He is the master of that. So I guess those three things come into play on that one because they've done what they should have done really with this guy. If he is losing weight dangerously, then he shouldn't fight. But you're right.
Correct, but what about Chris Eubank Jr. and
Yeah.
this rehydration clause? Because at the end of the day, when all said and done, Chris Eubank Jr. was put in the ring in a fight against Conor Benn, and he wasn't allowed to rehydrate to be safe or on the night because they were trying to give Ben an edge. So how can that be right? I mean,
No.
Eddie Hills keeps going on about. Safety's paramount and this and that, and boxing's a dangerous sport and that, and blah, blah, blah. Well, didn't they learn anything from Michael Watson against Chris Eubank Sr., where they fought for a 168 belt, but Barry Hearn had a contract, something inserted into the contract where they had to weigh in at 164. Now, that £4 would have made the difference for Michael Watson, the doctors said, in the report. Because
Mm.
the last thing you lose when you're losing weight is the last bit of weight is the fluids from behind your brain. So you've got no protection, and that's how he ended up with a blood clot in it. So didn't they learn anything from that? And where were the boxing board of control when Eddie Hills said, "Yeah, well, we tried to make weight. I've been sat in sauna with Lee Purdy all day before the Devin Alexander fight. Why didn't the board pull that fight? I'll tell you why. Because they get a 4% tax, just like they got 4% of Ben Eubank. But
Yeah,
there were
yeah.
hardly any 4% to come from that Barnsley show, were there really? Do you see where I'm coming from? So they tried to set the stall out as, yeah, we're big on safety, but technically, would they have done that if it were a Queensbury or a matchroom fighter on a big card? I don't think they would.
Unlikely.
They've done it to
Unlikely.
cut
Come
that
on, Nelly.
kid's legs off, in my opinion.
Yeah, unlikely. And also as well, like they do appear relatively toothless as well. Like in when you can, like you, it feels like you saw the saga with Conor Benn, and I think it embarrassed the boxing board of control a little bit the way that went. Like they just don't appear to have the power that they should have as the authority in boxing in the country.
Power. Oh my God. Listen, we're talking about men here that haven't got jobs. Their job is basically boxing, just to bounce around show, bounce about shows, claim their expenses, and just ponce a living off boxing and fighters. That's what they do. That's what they are, poncers. And every time, like I said, every time I've ever seen Robert Smith, I've gone, here, what's your mark out of 10 for your performance? And he's going, not you again. He's a bit arrogant, aren't you, Roberto Smith? Arrogant. Do you know what I mean? I want to know when he's going to give Gary Sykes his belt back. Give Gary Sykes his British title because he won it outright. Carl Johansson was a proper defence. He was a proper defence. Now, they made an admin error and they won't admit it. And it's no good sending Gary Sykes 500 quid a couple of Christmases ago just to smooth it. That's not good enough. Send him his belt. But like I said, the belt's cost a lot of money, to have made. So, and that's where we're at. So why don't you dip into the Eubank fine or the fee that he got for that show? Because they got a big 4% fee off 10 million, and they also fined Eubank as well, 350 sterling. So what's that? 750 grand. So I'm sure
Yeah,
Roberto Smith could sort Gary Sykes' belt out. Because let's have it right, if you go into company house, they don't pay any tax because everything's put through as expenses. You see where I'm coming from? So these people are
charity
having a
status as
real
well, right?
good old time on their expenses, aren't they? We all know what goes on when they go to Vegas. They like to get dressing gowns and they like to go into the mall and do this and do that. They've all suited and booted from it all. So why not give Gary Sykes his belt? Roberto Smith, you shithouse. What? I'm trying to get my point across here. It's not my fault that I'm shadow banned and not when people are looking for my videos that they're not always there because people behind the scenes try and cut your legs off, don't they? But we keep chipping away, and I just come back stronger, kid, me. Well, that
Yeah, yeah,
that to me is about as low as it gets what they've done to that kid Gary Sykes. But what they did to that Adam Azine opponent is not consistent with how they've been behaving over years. A bit similar to all these drug tests and all these silent bans and that. Because let's have it right, when Crusher Ben were being hauled over the coals by the Boxing Board of Control, they were going to do this, they were going to do that, they were going to do that, and going to do this. They were going to do wonders, and all they did was sit on cucumbers, mate. That's the bottom line. Conor Ben were given a board license in the end. You know why? That. That's why they were given a board license.
yeah. But it's the consistency that's the frustration, right? That's the biggest. That's the biggest issue. It's the
Isn't it?
consistency and decision making approach to it. Yeah, that's what generally winds people up. And I think if you're a casual and you're outside, then unfortunately, as someone that's into boxing, it was the same when I was into football. I sort of fell out of love with it for this reason. The more of a like fan supporter you are, the less important you seem to be to the sports and the organizations because they seem to, they know you're there regardless. So
Yeah,
they don't really do anything for you or appeal to you. They're
yeah.
always appealing to the new.
Agree. Agree. Okay then. Callum Simpson had a win, but do you think he'll win a world title?
I don't know. I'd have to. I haven't had a chance to watch that last fight. I mean, the thing is with the world titles, there's so many of them, and it's so political that so many guys have won them that you're not really sure if they should have, and then other guys maybe haven't gone as far as they could have done with the talent that they got. So it's possible, yeah, because it only takes like the right move at the right time, right, and then you've done it.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Uh, Fabio Wardley. What do you think?
Fabio Wardley. Fabio Wardley. I've got to say, like, I do love the guy. I think he's a great guy. I love watching his fights, but I, I, yeah, I was quite surprised how well Hooney managed him for the majority. Like all of about that shot that took him out. I was
Yeah.
quite surprised by it. It was a bit. Yeah, I mean, I actually didn't see the count. I got so excited by the knockout. I only really know about the count after. So I don't know. Maybe he could have been given a chance to go back on, but with a minute and a half to go and Wardley's power, I don't know if he would have survived the round anyway. I think Wardley's got he's like a shark, and he smells blood. I think Wardley would have closed him out. But he's exciting. Yeah, he's exciting to watch. He's good. Like he's good to watch.
I like Fabio Wardley for a simple reason. He comes across really genuine in his
He
interviews.
does.
Yeah, look, he does the basics very, very, very well. I've heard he's a really hard trainer, but he's got the equaliser, hasn't he? Do you know what I mean? And I think he's a bit better skilled than Wilder, and I think he probably matches Wilder for power or nearly. Do you know what I mean? I think he's that good, honestly. And I'm
But
really chuffed that he's in a good position. Pardon?
Even Wilder, I don't know if Wilder was a heavy hitter. He had a big punch. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't think Wilder's ever hurt anyone with a left hook, for example, or
Hmm.
with a jab, or with anything else. It's that one big fucking punch that like he just
Yeah.
kept finding. Whereas Wardley does look like he's got power in both hands.
Mm.
He does look like he's got power all over, right? He looks like he can hurt you with any punch.
Yeah, he does, doesn't he, Wardley? I think he's very, very good. Who do you think's the best trainer in the country at the moment? Obviously, we know who the most decorated is. It's Joe Gallagher. But who do you think is currently the top five trainers in country? Who would you say, Stephen?
That's a good question. I don't know, man. I mean, the McGuigans seem to have gone a little quiet at the moment, don't they? There doesn't seem to be as much coming from them. Ben Davidson's had a tough time recently as well. He's had a
What
couple
do
of
you
big
think to
losses.
Ben Davison coming in at the very back end of fighters' careers, when everybody else has done all the heavy lifting and him just snaffling his way in and getting all the glory? What do you think to that?
It's part of the game, I guess, isn't it? I mean, it happens in all sport. I mean, they're going to him for a reason, I guess. I mean, they must think there must be something that they're going to him
Get
for,
on a
and
show, innit? That's all it is with these fighters, innit? You might get on a Joshua undercard or, a Wardley undercard or whatever. But I don't know. I just think he's one for the future. But go to Ben Davidson. Well, Ben Davidson, to me, he didn't do anything for Fabio Wardley. His own power, his instructions were falling on deaf ears. His power got him out of there. Not any skills or any defensive skills that he's taught him because he was getting clipped all night, wasn't he, really?
yeah, and he's actually I saw there were some similarities with Wardley and AJ and Dubois, where it was like quite a lackadaisy approach to their own defense.
Yeah.
Both of them seem to go into it without any sort of regard for defending themselves, which is something to look out for, right? Like, I mean, that AJ fight was like one of the most amateur performances I've ever seen from a former world champion. And then after like 3 or 4 rounds, surely the word is keep your hands up, because the primary reason Hooney was winning those rounds is because he was landing so much. So if he starts hitting your gloves, he's not landing as much. They're not counting as scoring shots, and you might be able to nick a couple of rounds back. But it just never seemed to come. It just
Mm.
never seemed to like be introduced at any point in the fight.
Mm. Okay. Uh, Fury and Joshua. Is it going to happen, Steve?
I feel like there's a lot of money in it, right? And money talks. It's on Fury, isn't it? I mean, Fury's the kingmaker here. He'll do what he wants when he wants. If Fury wants to do it, it's going to happen. If he wakes up tomorrow morning, or if he goes on his Instagram in 5 minutes and calls him a shithouse and offers him out, then the fight's happening. But it's hard to say with Fury where he's at or what he's thinking. It's missed though. It's a real missed opportunity. It's a shame. Like it's quite late, and they'll only be doing it for the money now, even though it'll make it.
Mm. Okay. Max had a win at weekend. You know Max who comes on channel, my pal.
Yeah.
He's obviously a fight academy fighter. I think he's 4-1 now. He's just won in Rome on Sunday. Good luck to Max. He's going to be coming on this week. But he's just told me this morning that Dennis is looking to put him in with George Fox, who's Don Charles's fighter. So I'm sure Canada Bob and Andy's Cavern they'll be watching that with interest because George didn't cover himself in glory having a go at Usyk, did he really?
Oh, it's embarrassing, wasn't it? It's embarrassing. And there's a theme with Frank's fighters, Bricktop's fighters, and the way they speak to and about Usyk, which is becoming a bit embarrassing.
Detrimental.
Yeah, it's like every time. It's like as far as Frank's concerned, Usyk's lost all of his last 4 or 5 fights, which is just insane.
He's not been beat for years, Usyk, absolute
Yeah,
donkey's years. I mean,
yeah. It was amateur times, wasn't it? The
got it
last time.
here. Alexander Usyk, 350 fights amateur, 335 wins, 15 losses, rematched 11. He didn't get a chance to rematch Sean Porter at 165 pound amateur. And there's three others that he didn't get a chance to rematch. He's WBSS gold, that's 5 rounds with no headgear, that's like pros, isn't it? Done joint final. And undisputed cruiser, undisputed heavyweight, 9 world champions beat, undefeated. He's just European, world, Olympic gold, and they're treating him. And everywhere he seems to fight, and I have a massive problem with this. Usyk's always the B side. He has been since he turned pro because he's been on the road, hasn't he, all the time. He's the B
Yeah,
side
yeah,
every time. And he is absolutely mesmerizing people. And we need to appreciate this guy while he's here. I know he's not a Brit, and I know that he don't do loads of interviews on IFL like all the rest of them and all these other YouTube channels who buy subscribers. I mean, this is how I look at it. You know, when you've got 1 million subscribers and you're averaging 20 odd thousand a video, what are the other million doing? Because if you're that big, you'd have your own chat show on ITV like Jonathan Ross, wouldn't you? So I look at it,
yeah,
I think Usyk is an absolute genius, and he's up there for me with Ali. He's up there with
yeah,
Ali, your Lennox Lewis's, and people like that. And the disrespect that they're putting on this man's name is absolutely shocking. And the British boxing media and all these around it that keep sticking it to him, they should be embarrassed because he's just flogging Brits constantly. And they're going to keep going and keep going. And they're going to try and job this guy, you know. They're going to try and job him. That's what's going to happen.
yeah,
We're going to see him jobbed on cards sooner or later. But look what he did to Bellew, Chisora, Fury twice, Joshua twice, soon to be Dubois twice. Do you know what I mean? It's starting to rankle with me, really, the lack of disrespect. And it makes us look stupid, you know. Wrap this guy
yeah. I don't like it.
in cotton wool is great, man.
Yeah, I don't like it, particularly this last one with the way they've gone on about this apparent logo. That's
Have you
been
seen the
the
actual punch? Have you seen the breakdown of it? What Atman did? He nailed it, Atman. He
yeah,
couldn't.
but
He's
you can
obviously got better
see,
editing skills than me, but he couldn't have done it any better. You know
you
what
can
I
see,
mean?
like it's below the problem is as well is that you're again they're not talking to boxing fans, they're talking to casuals, and casuals here below the belt they see the strap on the shorts and they assume that it's all right, but it's below the belly button. And
Yeah,
that punch is below the belly button, clear as a fucking. It's like plain as day.
I
It's a
know.
below the belly button. So then they overstated it by playing on his joke that hit him in the bollocks, and then that's what they focused on. Because his son really embarrassed himself as well when he stood over him at that table. That did you see that
George
John's son?
Fox.
Yeah, yeah,
Seen it, mate. You know what? Do you know him, right? He's had 5 fights, 4-1. He's not had a stoppage yet, and he's not fought anybody with a winning record. And for him to carry off like that, trying to get himself in the mix, was proper embarrassing. I'd love to see Usyk
really
spar him because
embarrassing.
he'd knock him out. He would knock him Sparko, mate, into next week. Okay, Lomachenko, he's retired. Any thoughts on that, Steve?
Yeah, I mean he's a great fighter, isn't he? He's a great boxer. So fun to watch the fucking Matrix. His record's probably not as good as you would have liked it. Well, from my perspective, as I would have liked it to have been. I thought he beat Haney. I thought he edged it that
Yeah.
fight, so I thought he should have that one on his record. But yeah, he's another great, right? He's going to go into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Uh, Sad to hear news about James Cook passing away. Not very nice, that, or it for James's family.
Yeah, and it seemed there's been a run of it in the last few weeks, hasn't there? Of like quite big names in boxing and like
Mm,
people are involved in boxing.
not good. Where my studio is in Robert, it's at South Yorkshire Packaging. Manager there just had an heart attack Saturday. Townie, so Townie, I'm going to pray for you tonight. I think they're moving him from Rotherham to an hospital in Sheffield today. So life's very precious, and Townie's only 60, so I hope he's going to be all right. I'm starting to
Yeah,
wonder if all
similar.
these COVID jabs is affecting people down the line because people just seem to be taking ill, don't they? And
Yeah, a friend of mine, I found out yesterday had a stroke in France, 43, same age as me. They can't get him home. Like they're trying to find, like he had to have he had to see he had to find an operation in France. Like I'm not, like no one's able to get hold of, like get to him. Like it's It's just shocking.
It is. I've got Curtis Woodhouse coming on this week.
Oh, nice.
He's going to tell. Hopefully, we're going to have some news for Adrian King. It looks like I think Adrian and Big Ron Fight Academy fighters on. Looks like they might have parted company, but Curtis is going to come and tell us the full script. Billy Joe, do you think he's going to come back?
I mean, it's going to take a lot of work in it. The guy's got a lot of weight to lose, isn't he?
I needs a
He's
gas
got. I
pedal.
mean, he's going to need more than a sauna to get down to a fucking 168, isn't he?
Do you know what? The glasses always are full for Billy Joe for me because I did an interview with Jimmy Tibbs some years ago, and he said Billy Joe Saunders could have dominated at 154. He never fought at 154, obviously, but he says he could have done 154 and he would have dominated for 10 years. That's what Jimmy Tibbs told me. He said he was that good.
Very
Obviously, he
skillful.
wanted to fight at 160, then 160. I mean, he's even fought at 180, hasn't he, against Charles Adamu. So, weight issue, yet again, fighters, keep your feet out of the kitchen and out of the fridge. Put a padlock on it, I used to tell Dave Allen. Put a padlock on the fridge, David. But it is what it is. Let me just leave you with rankings and ask you what you think to this before we part company. Chizora's the highest ranked IBF guy. Wardley, the WBA guy, is at top at rankings. Atoma's at the top of the WBO rankings after 12 fights. I don't know how they've done that one. And Lawrence Okoli, he's there on merit, top of the WBC. So Bricktop's moved them all into position now, and he's got the DAZN deal. It looks like Eddie is on the outside looking in with his tail between his legs going back to Sky. Do you think it couldn't have worked out any better for Brick Top?
Oh, he's mastered it, hasn't he? I mean, he is the master, isn't he? He is the
Team Brick
absolute
Top!
master. He is the master of the business. I mean, the rankings just show you what I think is frustrating, right? As a boxing fan, and it feels like the Ring Magazine belt is probably the best belt to win or the most credible to win now, because
Huh.
these other fucking rankings, they're like, how are they so all over the place? Like, how are they so different? How can you
Lobbying.
have like
The lobby.
it's crazy?
What happens? They all go out for a meal, these governing bodies with promoters, and they say, we've got this fighter, we want him, it makes him, it makes him, it makes, and we all know what goes on after that, don't we? And that's how it works, and it has done for years. But I don't think Atoma should be at number one. But now he is number one. Well, he's got to start fighting guys that are on his level, hasn't it? Instead of him digging people up for him. You can't give him this ranking. It's like Joshua. They bought him a world title, then they didn't want to fight anybody, did they, for years? You see where I'm coming
I
from?
I don't understand why Talma didn't go through the British route, because if you look at who he's fought, he'd have got better fights, better exposure, and more tests at a British level fighting for the British title than
Yeah.
he's actually ended up doing going down the road he's gone. It feels I don't, and that goes back to the British Board of Boxing Control.
No
I
control.
like sometimes I think about it. I think like why don't they insist that if you're called up, you have to fight for a British title if you've got a British license, and
Yeah.
then they would pull some credibility back into their own organisation.
Yeah. What you've got with the border control, if you take Bricktop on, he's got lawyers on tap. You know, people like Bricktop and Dennis, they have lawyers on retainers. So it's no for them to ring somebody. So yeah, get stuck into them, earn your coin. And that's what happens. And Roberto Smith doesn't like legal action. Do you know what I mean? Because they can quite easily get wiped out by these promoters. So they tend to pander to them. That's what goes on. It's been going on for years. Do you think if Gary Sykes had had Eddie Hearn or Frank Warren behind him, do you think he'd have still not got his British title? No, he'd have had that belt a long time ago.
Yeah,
They wouldn't
yeah,
have dared do that, but because Gary Sykes didn't have the team around him, they didn't give him the belt, and that shows how bad this sport is run by Robert Smith, and I want him gone. Roberto Smith, I want you gone. What I'm saying now is what every other YouTuber with access to these promoters is saying behind the scenes, but they're not going to say on the social medias. I'm saying it. I want you gone out of the sport. We need somebody with some integrity in that job. That's what we need. Who that is, I don't know. I thought it was Simon Jordan, but no, he's been softened up by the establishment. So he'd be about as much use as a Cadbury's Dairy Milk in front of a fire. You see where I'm coming from? Well, that's how I
yeah,
look at
yeah.
it. So, okay, right. That's about it, really. Rest of the day off
Nice
for
one,
me. I'm
mate.
going out on my mountain bike now, and then I'm going to train. So I hope you're well, Steve. Thanks for coming
Yeah,
on.
thanks, mate.
I'd like to have you on again. Is that all right?
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to.
That's
Yeah.
brilliant. We'll keep in touch. You've got my WhatsApp number, Steve.
Yeah, I will do. Nice one, mate. Have a good
All
day.
right. Thank you very
Cheers.
much. All the best to you and your
See ya.
family.
Nice one. Thank you,
Bye
mate.
bye.
Bye bye.
Thanks, Steve. Well, that was Steve from Walthamstow. Women love him, men want to take his train set off him. That's about it, really. Thanks for liking and subscribing and leaving a comment. I hope everybody has a fantastic Tuesday. Go on, pop, pop, bang.